Good evening, everybody. Billy O here again with yet another episode of Huns History. Tonight we have Zippy, Brent Zippoy. Brent, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. Doing good.
How's life, man? You had a health scare a couple years ago. You doing okay?
I did have a health scare. I'm doing good. I had a. Here goes my dog. They found a tumor in my throat, and luckily caught it early enough and got it removed. And it was about a little over a year ago now. So hopefully, knock on wood, I'm all clear. But
well, you look good. You just had the big 5-0 virtual birthday, right?
I did. It was supposed to be a drive-by thing, but then you know how things go. Everybody wanted to get out of the cars, and it ended up being like a yard party. So it was a lot of fun. So.
Well, let's talk about the Huns a little bit. You know, the whole
right.
point of this is to try and create an oral history of the club through the eyes of our players. So when did you start with the Huns?
So I started in January of 1991. I went to college in San Angelo, played a little football there, and never got to play. So I got disillusioned with that and moved back to Austin, and then started looking up old friends from high school. And a buddy of mine was playing rugby with UT and said, "Hey, you should come on out." And I said, "Yeah, it looks like fun." He gives me directions to this elementary school in East Austin somewhere, near the airport, where the airport is now, I should say. It used to be Air Force Base. Anyways, I go out there, said that looks like rugby. I started practicing with the guys, and then practice was over. I started thinking, these guys look a little old for UT. And then they said, "No, we're not UT, we're the Huns." I was like, "Oh, that's cool. I guess I'll play for you guys." And they took me to Nasties. I was 20 years old. I lied to Jack and James Elston, who was the bartender. They said there was the only two guys you got to tell them your real. Don't tell them your real birth date. And James was the bartender, and yeah, I was there ever since. I said, "This is great." You know, I had a ball and played that weekend.
James Elston is the bartender with Jack Bloom as the supervisor. Possibilities are endless. So
yeah.
You were a prop, right?
I started a flanker, and as I got heavier, they moved me further. So I ended up at prop. I think I did best at prop. But when I started, you got Jay Rudd and these guys propping ahead of me. So I was playing second side. So.
You can't play ahead of Jay Rudd.
No.
You can't play ahead of Jay Rudd. So what are some of your favorite on the field Huns memories and escapades over what, a 15-ish year career or something like that?
Yeah, so I stopped playing after the 2006 season. That's when we were in D2 Sweet 16. I think it was in South Carolina. After that, my back was a mess, and I just said, I think I'm done. I was 36 years old, so.
What are some of your favorite experiences in your Huns career on the field?
My very, very favorite one was probably, God, what year was it? It was like maybe 2000. I was president of the club at the time, and got an email from the Cayman Islands, a team in Wales, and a team in England. All wanted to come play us. And I said, "That's great." And then it turns out they all want to come the same weekend. So we played a round robin tournament, the 4 teams, got Guinness to sponsor it. Fido's had the party. It was amazing. The whole thing was great. And since I was the president, they gave me all the presents, so that was even better. So, but it was an amazing, amazing weekend. Everybody had so much fun.
So Wales, the Cayman Islands, and where?
And a team from England, Old Pauline.
That's incredible. What a great weekend.
Yeah, it was just everything fell in place. They all wanted to come the same weekend, and we had actually the jersey I'm wearing right now is the jersey from when we toured the Cayman Islands in '99. That was an amazing trip, and then they had so much fun with us that they said, "Hey, we want to come play you there." And
I bet there were no shenanigans on that trip in the Cayman Islands.
No, everybody went to bed early and just drank milk and everything. So.
Do you have a favorite game? Is there any particular game or season that really stands out to you?
Well, think it was 96 or 97. I can't remember, but it was the Austin Rugby tournament, and we did really, really well.
This is the old Austin tournament in April every year at
Yeah,
Zilker
that's
Park.
the one. That's the one. And there was a team called the Quakas. It was all the South Africans living in Texas got together and formed a team, like a super team. And we ended up playing them in the finals. And John Davis was our kicker, hits 3 penalty shots. So we beat him 9-5. It was an amazing game. So I think I have a picture actually from that.
You know, the old days of pre-professional era rugby, or maybe early professional era rugby, that's a great picture.
Yeah. So
9-5 is just a score these guys today can't even imagine.
Yeah, I mean, nobody gave us a chance in hell to beat these guys, and we just put it together, and everything fell in place. So.
I think the Huns have always been able to do that. That, you know, we did it once when I played. I've heard of the times that when they did it in the 90s, and you know, even to this day, that we have had a history of knocking off some pretty big opponents.
Mm-hmm.
You know, sometimes maybe it's hard to sustain that for an entire season, but that sounds like an incredible victory.
Yeah, that was great. It was great.
What's other than nasties, maybe, or maybe including nasties, what are some of your favorite off the field experiences that you can kind of tone down to PG enough to talk about on the internet?
Ooh, that's tough. Well, tours were always great. I mean, 95, we were in England, and I know you're getting lots of stories about John Banks. He was nuts as usual. I remember he was walking around the bar in England. I don't know if I should tell the story or not, but of course he had no pants on, and he's telling everybody, "Yeah, I got three balls, you know." And so the waitress walks over and he does have 3 balls. So it was a typical John Banks, you know, crazy.
And this is in England, in London or something?
That was in England, and the pub after the match. And then another crazy character is Doug Fort. I don't know, everybody called him Dougie Fresh. You may have not heard him.
I've heard the name. Yeah,
he passed away a few years ago. I think he had a tumor and passed away. Great guy, crazy. He was always the life of the party. So, but he in the Cayman Islands, he went into the water with one of the girls that came on the tour. It was half his size, and they switched swim trunks. Somehow he got hers on. He wore them the rest of the day. It was just hilarious, hysterical. Wish I still had a picture of that. So.
You know, the Huns to me have always meant something more than just rugby and competition, and those things are certainly important. What's special, you know, in your mind about the club? I mean, obviously you have fond memories, but you're sticking around. What's special to you about the Huns? Oh,
it's just the brotherhood, the inclusiveness. I mean, no one's ever turned away, and you always feel welcome. And you know, a good story about that. I remember when Wheezy first came out, skinny little kid comes riding up on his bike, and you know, we said, come on in, you know, invited him. I didn't find this out till recently, but he told me that he actually went out to play for the Blacks, and they told him that you know, he wouldn't be good enough, so he should go play with those other guys. So, you know, lucky for us that happened. So.
Well, look at Wheezy now. I mean, one of the great things about our club right now is that you got Adam Scheidler, a Hun, as our head coach. You got Wheezy as a Hun, as our director of rugby. You got Hansel, who is just a Hun to the core, that has also been, like you, chairman, and is now helping us with some business things behind the scenes. Kind of an outgrowth of that schism a few years ago, as a lot of guys stepped up and got involved. And we're not hiring outside people. We're bringing Huns back. And it really seems to be making a difference. What do you think?
I think what those guys are doing now is amazing. Those guys work tirelessly, and it all stems from Kirk Tate's example and his leadership. Kirk, we wouldn't be where we are without Kirk. He did an amazing job, and those guys. I know Kirk's moved on to coach other teams, but he's still around, and it's through his guidance that we are where we are.
You know, I agree with you 100%. Those guys are all Kirk Tate disciples. I've gotten to know Kirk fairly well, in the last few years. I really didn't know him very well before that, even though I was there when he started. I agree with you 100%. Kirk has carried on the Pat Lockridge philosophy and has been a mentor to all those guys. Those guys are all Kirk Tate disciples. And, if you look at guys that have come along at key times, I mean, Pat Lockridge, obviously, Dave Zach, I hear talked about a lot in your era. Kirk Tate, sort of at the end of your era, there have been, several guys like that have come along and, carried the Pat Lockridge philosophy, if you will, and have, helped the Huns become what they are. Do you agree with that?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah,
I heard a lot about Dave Zach. Why don't you talk about him a little bit, if you know?
Oh, Zach. So Zach was, yeah. So when I first came out, all those great players like Jay and Zach and actually Jay wasn't. I don't remember Jay playing when I first started. He came back when we made went on to the championship matches. But yeah, Zach was there. Bruce Acuna, all the Acuna brothers. What do you want to know about Zach? I mean, other than
I just
putting his
heard
head
that Zach
through
was
the
an
glass.
incredible leader, not just a good player, that he was just a strong, figurehead leader for the club.
Oh, absolutely. And him and Carl, I mean, when I came along, it seemed like he and Carl and Jerry were really leading the club. And I fell in love with the sport from the second I came out, and the guys were awesome. And like I said, I found a place I could drink when I was 20 years old. So.
Believe me, James Elston lied about his age at some point along the way to drink at Nasty's. When I started with the Huns, the drinking age was 18. They raised it back up after. So, who is your favorite Huns character all time? If it's Banks, that's fine, but if it's someone else, that's cool too.
All time, it'd probably be Poot. I mean, Poot is the Huns. I mean, some other guys like Justin Whitehead was an amazing guy. I don't know if you ever heard of Justin. They named the trophy between the Huns and the Blacks the Justin Whitehead Cup because he was such a beloved guy that by both clubs, so that they named the trophy after him. So whoever wins gets the Whitehead Cup. Guys like Wheezy are just, I mean, Al Garcia, all those guys.
Tell me a Poot story then. Give me one good story about Poot.
Oh, I don't know if it's not PG, so I don't know if I should tell that.
Water it down as best you can.
Oof. Well, the one I'm thinking of, I don't think he'd want me telling on the web. So, but
well, that's fine. Then give me your second best Poot story.
Okay. Golly. I don't know. I'm just anytime I bring a girl around, and now my wife, as soon as I see Poot, I'd warn him, he's gonna come kiss you, and they're like, what? And sure enough, he'd walk up and just plant right on. But as long as they were warned, it was okay. They knew he was harmless. So, but that's
look, that's a fine Poot story. I've gotten to know Poot in the reunions and then with the Hall of Fame. If you want to talk about Huns spirit, Poot sure seems to have that in huge measure.
Absolutely.
Anything else you want to say to the guys as we close this thing out?
Just keep on going, doing what you're doing. The club's in good hands, and they're that's amazing what they've done, and I can't believe how I love the Big Ten philosophy that Kirk instilled, and even before he instilled it, I felt it was always that way, that the team was very inclusive and welcoming to everybody of all skill levels. They'll find a place for you. So.
Well, I'm very proud of Kirk for doing that as well. That's how Pat Lockridge was with me and with anybody that came out in the early days. And so that was a real philosophy, a pillar of the club in the beginning. And I think Kirk, you know, has done a phenomenal job. There's a Mount Rushmore of Huns greats. Kirk deserves to be up there on it. Zippy, great talking to you. I'm glad you're doing well health-wise.
Thanks, buddy.
This Zoom stuff is amazing, and you know, carry on. I hope to see you out at the pitch out at Nixon sometime soon.
Yeah, me too. It's been rough sitting at home all this time, not going to go see rugby. So, you know, hopefully we'll get this thing fixed, and we'll get back out there.
Hopefully we will be back out there soon. Take it easy, man.
All right,
Huns,
buddy.
everybody.
Up the Huns.